Oh, you said director's report.
Yeah, I know, I start with operating.
Okay, sorry about that. Let me get you here. Okay, so you got it on the screen. Okay. Okay, so this is the report for today's date, June 16th, which for the water system covers basically the month of May as we're reading meters again. So here's our production report for May of 2022. 7,638,000 gallons produced by the wells during May. 3,448,000 gallons consumption registered through customer meters. Works out to be 263,000 gallons per day produced by the wells, of which 119,000 gallons is actually used, registered through customer meters. Equivalent customer consumption of 238 gallons per day per connection at 501 connection. Unaccounted for water loss is 4,190,000 gallons. So you can see how this compares with previous years. Obviously, irrigation has been a major factor in previous years. We didn't do any of that this year.
4 million gallons not being irrigated.
Yeah.
This one.
So you can see that last year it was 11,270,000 gallons produced by the well, of which 7,406,000 gallons, or double, registered through customer meters. Bob, you're probably seeing this in your systems too. I'm seeing it all of them. It's like
everywhere.
it's like wintertime consumption right now. Works out to be 419,000 gallons per day produced by the wells, or 265 by gallons per day registered through customer meters. Equivalent customer consumption of 538 gallons per day. So again, well over twice. Unaccounted for water loss is 3,864,000 gallons, or 34% of total production by the wells. And I think the real comparison we're looking at here is the unaccounted for water loss, because regardless of whether you're irrigating or not, that's what we're looking at. And so it has jumped up a little bit over last year, from almost 3,900,000 gallons to 4,200,000 gallons. So that's what you're kind of watching, that there's a consistency there. It has gone up. And you can see year-to-year comparison. 2 years ago, again, there was more water usage at 6 million gallons produced, but 2 million of that, almost 3 million gallons of that, registered through customer meters. So it was a little bit wetter. Then you see 3 years ago, 7 million gallons, and then 3 million gallons produced through customer meters. But unaccounted for water loss, you continue to look at that number from 2 years ago. At the last, when it says 2 years ago, look at the bottom of that paragraph, 3,369,000 gallons. And then on year 3 years ago, that same paragraph right before it says water system items on number B, it says 3,398,000 gallons. So if the loss is relatively consistent, maybe increasing because of the aging system. But that's one of the things that we're looking for right now. And again, across the board, this applies to every water system. We're in wintertime usage. We have been up until this week. So anyway, we won't have quite the revenue that we've had for this time of year, but we also aren't going to have the power consumption that we had either. So, okay, the number one item, the SCADA system upgrade, isn't that on the main agenda? Jesse, you want to discuss it at that point instead? Okay, we'll put that one out there. One of the things we're doing right now is we're replacing bad meters that are 50 years old. You can't read them anymore because the lens is all fogged up, or they're not working properly or something like that. So we're doing that at the same time we're installing new meters on some homes. And the reason I'm doing this, with some of these meter sets being 50 years old, I prefer to do that with our contractor around here, so that if something happens when I'm installing a meter on an old meter set, then if it breaks, I've got somebody here for an emergency.
Not if something happens, that's when something
I
happens.
know. So anyway, I'm trying to be cautious with this stuff. So I want to do when I have help nearby, rather than, I wish I hadn't turned on that 50-year-old meter setter. So, okay, the other issue I wanted to bring up, which we've discussed before and has been approved, but I wanted to bring it up as a point of discussion. Moving from meters from basements to the street. Remember, that's kind of down Clipper Lane, the Ponderay Pines area. We've given approval for that. I wanted to see if there's been anything that's been found with any agreements. I heard rumors of an agreement that there existed out there that those customers would pay for moving to the street once their meter broke. And this would have been back in 2002. Has anything been found there yet? Does anybody know? So I think this was approved by the board last summer, but we didn't want to go to our expense to do it if there was an agreement that stated that. So
Yeah.
how do
I
you
found
want to
odds and end agreements, but I have not found that one.
Okay, So I guess at this point, how do we pursue, because we need to get done, obviously they're just paying the base rate until we get, when the meter's not working, until we get it moved out. They're gonna complain, why do I wanna have my driveway torn up or my yard, even if it's dirt, they don't want it, but in reality, we've got a lot of liability there. First of all, meters in the basement, and second of all, they have PRVs in there that may be our responsibility that we don't know about. And by having it out of the street, we then can say, this is your responsibility. You've got 150 pounds of pressure down there.
Now, where did you hear that from again?
Here, what?
The agreements that they would,
I can't remember where I heard it from. I can't remember if it was here in the office, but there was something that existed out there. It might have been one of the homeowners out there that thought there was something
Okay.
existed, so.
and this is just the Cape Horn area?
Yeah, this is specifically Ponderay Pines and Clipper Lane, not Cape Horn Estates.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
that area
that's right,
because we
not
took over,
states,
we
but-
took over that system, and that was supposedly by leaving the infrastructure in place, they said, well, we don't want the meters out of our basements, we don't wanna mess with it or pay for it, we'll leave it there when it goes bad, then we'll pay for it to be moved out the street. And that's what I've heard. Now, we've not been able to find anything, again, it's 20 years ago. So, anyway, we're trying to, I guess what I'd be interested in discussion on is if we don't find it shortly, do we wanna go ahead and move ahead and just tell the customers this is what we're doing?
And what you would do then is just go to the street and install a meter.
Install a meter, right, we'd leave everything alone in there.
And
And
then-
just not deal with
Leave the
it.
meter in place?
Uh-huh, I'd leave the meter in
Is
place.
that theirs or ours?
Well, from the original Ponderay Pines system, supposedly, anything up to and including the meter is ours. But I don't know, we just simply inherited something there.
Yeah, the only reason I asked the question is because if that old meter breaks and causes damage, what's our insurance company gonna say?
Yeah,
That's a good question.
yeah. I don't know. What do you,
We are-
do
We're
you,
responsible unless,
Yeah.
but if we diagnose.
do you have you dealt with this before, Bob, and do you have recommendations?
I've dealt with it before and I know I don't have recommendations.
Okay.
And we would only be doing that if the meter itself was in question?
Well, right now, we have several meters that are like that down there. We have two of them that are broken, we can't read them.
Yeah.
The others, what they do is they have the little remote display on the outside of their house,
Yeah.
and you go
Yep.
read it. But we have no idea what condition they're in there, and I'm concerned about the liability of those PRVs if we actually have those,
Absolutely.
and we have no control over it, we have no access to
I
it.
think if we pull those meters out that are under there,
Mhm.
it'd probably be a good idea to just put a spool in its place.
Okay,
I think have their contractor, plumber do it,
yeah, okay,
because that's real easy. I mean, it's not a big
Yeah.
expensive thing if you just stick a spool in its place.
right, right.
And at that point, putting in a meter at the street would be our expense?
Yeah, well, unless there's something you're in, yeah, that would be our expense.
Yeah.
But right now, we can't read the meters, we can only bill them the base rate, because we can't, the meters fail.
Other than the ones that have the.
Yeah, the other ones that are
outside
working, I mean, there's two of them we need to definitely move out to the street.
So that we're only